Masks will be mandatory in Quebec on Saturday. How will that affect Kahnawake? Stay tuned. Gwegwe Kahnawake Ronu. Welcome to the Kahnawake Task Force update, daily update. It's not daily anymore, 2 days a week. I'm Neil McCumber in for Joe Delarone. How will this affect Kahnawake? To tell us, Commissioner of Public Safety, Lloyd Phillips.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Yeah, as we talked about on K103 radio this morning after the task force meeting yesterday, and some great discussion and looking at all the evidence and all the facts, we decided to progress to the next level in terms of masks. As you recall back several weeks ago, it was a recommendation made by the task force that whenever you're in a public place that you wear a mask, and that was kind of increased to a very strong recommendation coming out last week. But again, after reviewing it further, it was decided the fact that it is appropriate at this point in time to make it mandatory. This is for several reasons. In part because we've seen how outbreaks are very easy to happen, in and around the community, where we see examples, pretty much around the world. So we want to make sure that we can take whatever measures that are required to help minimize the spread of the virus. As well, we want to ensure people don't forget the fact that mask is only a part of it. That there's also the physical distancing and social distancing is still paramount. Proper hand hygiene is still paramount, and a mask gives that extra level of security, so that if you cough or you sneeze or when you're speaking, you are not having droplets that can potentially contain the virus spread to others. So the primary goal of a mask is to protect others in your environment. And when we decide to make it mandatory, we understand that many people have already been regularly wearing masks. We understand that in Quebec, effective on Saturday, it's going to be mandatory. But we want to give time for people to get accustomed to the idea and used to the fact that it will be mandatory. Actually, on July 20th, on Monday, it will become mandatory in all public places within the community. Again, this is a means of protecting our community for the future. We understand that the levels of the spread of the virus, the number of new cases every day, the death rate has significantly decreased significantly over the past couple of months, and we want to keep it there. What's going to happen down the road in terms of talking about a potential second wave of the virus and things of that nature? Again, there's a lot of question marks there, and things are certainly not clear on how that's going to play out. But everything we do now to try to minimize the spread, minimize any clusters or any outbreaks, will hopefully lessen any impact if and when there is a second wave of the virus. So the key words here in terms of the new directive on mandatory masks is indoor and public. So what we mean by that are several things. One, in a retail business, if you are going to enter in any type of retail business, you are going to be required to wear a mask. Any type of service company, for example, pharmacies, things of that nature as well, you'll be required to wear a mask if, in fact, you are allowed physically inside the building, because some of these places have already taken precautions. Any office area where individuals are working directly with the public, that will be further clarified as we go along. Places of worship, such as churches and such, you will be required to wear a mask. Any rental venues that you may have a small gathering, where you may rent a venue, you will be required to wear masks. Any place where sports or recreation activities are taking place, again, that's another area that will be required. And restaurants. Restaurants will be a requirement, and what that means is when you arrive at a restaurant, for example, you are required to wear a mask during the process of greeting, and being seated at your table. Once you're at your table, you could remove your mask, but then once if you have to get up to go to the washroom, you're required to put your mask on, or obviously when you are leaving the restaurant, again, you put your mask on to leave, while you're enjoying your meal, it's not required to wear a mask. As well as other common areas in buildings like lobbies and things of that nature is considered to be a public area where gatherings are easy to be within a close distance of one another, less than the 6 feet requirement. So those areas are public, and those areas are basically uncontrolled. So that's where masks will be required, as well as at the Caisse Populaire or the bank in the community, as well as stuff like the post offices. The other areas, such as community organizations, there are areas that are deemed to be not public, because there is control mechanisms in place that would minimize the spread within various organizations. But there are other areas within entranceways, within lobbies and such reception areas that are public, and masks will be required in those areas. Again, this is very preliminary and very broad, but more details will be coming out over the next couple of days on how this will actually impact on organizations and how this impacts on you as an individual. So, just be prepared for any time you're going to enter into a public area that you will be required to wear a mask, and some of the more details will be coming out over the next little while. I think it's equally as important just to underscore a couple of points that where masks are not required. Masks are not required, obviously, within your private home, where we're still saying your physical distancing, social distance is required if you're not from the same household. So masks are not required in your private home. Factories that are not open to the general public. So if you have a business entity that is operating and it's not meant for the general public, it's there for employees and owners only. They already have procedures in place for when they open during phase 1. They already have protective measures put in place, such as plexiglass and ensuring distancing and such things like that. They are not required to wear masks because they are not deemed to be a public area. It is a private business and a private operation. However, when you talk about a retail business, it is different because there is that part where the community members or the customers enter the establishment freely, so there is that less control over the area. That's why there's a separation between the retail and a factory. A factory is meant for more private employees only, where retail is open to the public and people can come and go. So that's a distinction there. Again, such things as in office spaces that are not open to the general public, there is not going to be a requirement for masks. Because again, it's a controlled environment, and a matter of fact, for people who may not know, every organization in the community and every business is already required to do a health check every morning for all employees coming in to ensure that they don't have or exhibit any signs or symptoms of COVID-19. So there is an added layer of protection, and as well as there's previous directives that were in place that ensure to the best of our ability the safety of employees. So there are some obviously some exemptions to the masks. But again, the underscore, the message here is if you're indoors and you are in a public place, no, you are going to be required to wear a mask effective on Monday, within the community of Kahnawake. More details will be coming out over the next few days through communications on our Facebook page and on the radio and such. So stay tuned for that, and we'll gladly answer your questions as time goes on. But with that, stay safe, Kahnawake, and this is one more measure to ensure that we remain safe. Kahnawake.
Now, Lloyd. So, as Lloyd was saying, no official announcement. Expect the announcement tomorrow, Friday, July 17th, I believe is the date. And just myself, I'm looking at, I don't have a purse or anything like that to carry my mask around, so I pulled out the old sports pouch back from the 80s. I'm going to have my sanitizer in there, my couple of masks. I got some masks at Iron Horse, got some sanitizer over at the pharmacy, and a couple of bags to put them in over at Village Variety. So to tell me if that's a good idea and other safety tips and things, other questions that you may be wondering about is Executive Director of Academy Memorial Hospital, Lisa Westaway.
Thank you. So the Quebec.ca website, we've referred to it often, and we have a link on the KMHC website. It actually has a lot of interesting questions and answers. So Dr. Gauthier has referred to it, we have as well. But today I'm going to cover some questions and answers from that website regarding wearing a mask or face covering, which we feel are pertinent and extra information for you with this new directive coming up. So one of the questions, why has there been a change in position about the use of face coverings for the general public? So as you recall, early in the pandemic, we often were saying no to masks. And there has been a change. And why is that changing? So information is constantly evolving. We've said that as we move forward with the pandemic, we get more and more information. And studies about how the virus is spread has shown us that there is asymptomatic transmission. And therefore, that coupled with the increase in contacts that reopenings bring about leads to the fact that we suggest that face coverings or a handcrafted mask would be really beneficial in reducing the transmission of the virus. And that is always coupled with distancing measures and hand hygiene techniques. So face coverings is one of those 3 pillars that helps limit the transmission of the virus, and that's the one that we're talking about today. So next question, does wearing a mask or a face covering protect against COVID-19? So as you remember, when you wear a mask, you must you're actually protecting, and Lloyd mentioned it as well, you're actually protecting the other person from yourself. You're not protecting yourself, well, very, very minimally. And so the idea is that if 2 people who are in close contact with each other are wearing masks, then you're each protecting each other. So it's just respectful to wear a mask to protect those who are around you. When do I have to wear a mask or face covering? Lloyd covered that question pretty well, so I won't relook at it here today, right now, except for to mention the fact that it's especially important when you can't maintain your 2-meter distance from another person. The mandatory directive means that in all public places. However, at any time when you can't respect the 2-meter distance, you should be wearing a mask. When should, no, that one we already covered, so that's the same question. How can I make a mask or face covering? So you can make a handcrafted mask, also called a face covering, using materials that you already have at home. So you should have a soft, tight type of cotton material that's breathable and that lets the air through. You should use 2 layers at all times. And the handcrafted mask must fit comfortably over your nose and mouth. You should be able to wash it and dry it without it getting deformed or ruined. The website, the Quebec.ca website, actually has a link that gives you fabrics, potential fabrics, and ways that you can produce the mask. So that exists as well. Are we encouraging companies that want to make face coverings to sell them to the public? Would these masks or face coverings be safe? So handcrafted masks, also called face coverings, are easy to make at home. So companies like the hospital, any health or social service agencies should be using procedure masks, but we're encouraging the general public to use handmade masks because, number one, it's better for the environment, but it also allows health professionals to have access to procedure masks when they need them. So it limits overusing procedure masks, especially when we are not sure of what's coming up in a potential second wave. So we need to protect the procedure masks for healthcare professionals. How often should I wear my mask or face covering, and what's the right way to clean or disinfect it? So you should wash your mask or your face covering every day at the end of the day. As soon as you get home, you could put it in the washing machine and then put it in the dryer or let it air dry. And you have to remember to wash your hands all the time before and after you handle your mask. What is the right way to put a mask or face covering away when I'm not using it? Neil kind of referred to that before as he introduced me. So your mask should be folded, the outside of the mask should be folded inward when you place it in a clean bag during your daily activities. So again, you can use the same mask on a particular day, but you should wash it at the end of the day. So who cannot wear a mask? There are not many people who can't wear masks. So anybody who has a particular disability that prevents them from being able to remove the mask independently should not wear a mask. Anyone under 2 years old should not wear a mask simply because they may not be able to remove the mask independently. There are very few other reasons why someone might not be able to wear a mask. That's the end of the questions from the Quebec.ca website. We're actually going to be putting in place a very detailed media campaign regarding wearing of masks, and Lloyd mentioned it again often that over the course of the next week there'll be a lot more information coming out. But we urge you to use the KMHC website, the Quebec.ca website. That's at your disposal for further information, and we'll be releasing a clear directive tomorrow. Thank you.
Now, Lisa, remember it's a three-prong approach. So what we're taking here is a distance, hygiene, washable masks, and that's the key. Those are the three keys that you have to keep in mind. We just also want to know that, we don't want to, right now at this point, the task force, they still haven't officially announced it. Of course, it's been announced here, it's been announced on the radio. I mean, as far as the official press release, which will outline everything and targeting Monday, in there will be a mention about how we'll enforce it, how they will enforce it. For the most part, they're just looking for compliance and cooperation. So with that, stay safe. Remember to keep your distance, wash your hands, and starting Monday, wear a washable mask. Now.